My wife had been living a double life in a secret basement under our nursery for 3 years. And the babies she was caring for down there weren't ours. Let me take you back to how this all started. Sarah and I had been trying for a baby for 2 years when we finally got pregnant with our miracle daughter, Emma. Sarah was the perfect wife, always making dinner, keeping the house spotless, and she insisted on handling all the nursery preparations herself. She'd spend hours in there, painting, organizing, making everything perfect for our little girl. "I want this to be special," she'd say, shooing me away whenever I offered to help. "Just trust me on this one." I thought it was sweet. My wife, the perfectionist, wanting everything just right for our first child. But then the small things started adding up. Sarah would disappear for hours, claiming she was working on the nursery. When I'd walk by, I'd hear her talking, full conversations, but when I'd peek in, she'd be alone, just humming and folding tiny clothes. The grocery bills were insane. We were spending nearly $800 a month on food for 2 adults. When I asked about it, Sarah would laugh it off. "I'm eating for 2, remember? Plus I'm stocking up for when the baby comes." Then there were the sounds at night. Soft crying that seemed to come from below our feet. Sarah would jump up immediately. "I'll check on Emma," she'd whisper, but Emma was still in my arms, sound asleep. Something was very, very wrong. One evening, I was installing a baby monitor in the nursery when I noticed something odd. The room felt bigger when I was standing in the hallway looking in, but smaller when I was actually inside. I started measuring. The nursery was missing about 6 feet of space. That's when I found it. Behind the changing table, there was a section of wall that looked slightly different. When I pressed on it, it gave way like a hidden door. And then I saw something that changed everything. Stone steps leading down into darkness. My hands were shaking as I grabbed my phone's flashlight and started walking down. The smell hit me first, baby powder and formula and something else I couldn't identify. The basement was fully furnished. Cribs lined the walls. 6 of them. And they weren't empty. There were babies down there. Real, living babies. 3 infants, maybe 6 months old, sleeping peacefully. Bottles and diapers were neatly organized on shelves. A rocking chair sat in the corner with a pile of blankets. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be happening. I heard footsteps above me. Sarah was home. I quickly climbed back up, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might explode. I managed to close the hidden door just as Sarah walked into the nursery. "Hey honey," she said, completely calm. "How's the monitor installation going?" I couldn't speak. I just stared at her, this woman I'd been married to for 5 years, who had apparently been running some kind of underground nursery beneath our feet. "Fine," I managed to whisper. "Just fine." That night, I pretended to sleep while my mind raced. Who were those babies? Where did they come from? How long had this been going on? I waited until Sarah left for her doctor's appointment the next morning, then I went back down to the basement. This time, I looked more carefully. There was a logbook on a small desk. Names, dates, feeding schedules. The entries went back 3 years. But here's where it gets even more twisted. The babies weren't kidnapped. Sarah was running an illegal daycare. She was taking care of babies whose parents couldn't afford proper childcare. The logbook showed payments, small amounts, $20 or $30 a day. These were families who were desperate, working multiple jobs, who couldn't afford the $1,500 a month that legal daycares charged. My wife, my pregnant wife, had been secretly caring for other people's babies in our basement while we prepared for our own child. I confronted her that evening. She broke down immediately. "I couldn't stand seeing these families struggle," she sobbed. "Maria works 3 jobs and couldn't afford daycare for her twins. James is a single dad who was going to lose his job if he couldn't find someone to watch his daughter. I just wanted to help. Sarah, this is illegal. What if something happened to one of these babies? What if someone found out? I'm careful. I love these babies like they're my own. I couldn't just let their parents suffer when I could help. Part of me was horrified. Part of me was heartbroken. And part of me was proud of her. But the story doesn't end there. 2 weeks later, I came home early from work and heard voices in the basement. Multiple adult voices. When I went down, I found Sarah with 3 other women. They weren't just parents dropping off their kids. They were other wives. Other women who had been secretly running daycare operations in their own hidden spaces. Sarah had created an entire underground network of women helping families who couldn't afford childcare. They met weekly to share resources, discuss safety protocols, and support each other. There were 12 women total, caring for over 40 children across the city. We call ourselves the village, Sarah explained. Because it takes a village to raise a child, and sometimes the village has to be underground. I realized I had 2 choices. Turn in my wife and destroy the lives of dozens of families who depended on this network. Or find a way to help make this legal. I chose to help. I'm a lawyer, and I spent the next 6 months working with Sarah and the other women to establish a legitimate nonprofit organization. We found grants, established proper licensing, and created a legal daycare network that could serve low-income families at affordable rates. The Village Foundation now operates 3 legal daycare centers across our city. Sarah runs one of them, and she's never been happier. Our daughter Emma, who's now 6 months old, gets to grow up surrounded by children who are loved and cared for by women who understand that sometimes helping others means breaking a few rules. Last month, Maria's twins started kindergarten. James got promoted at his job because he finally had reliable childcare. And 3 more mothers have been able to return to work because they know their children are safe. The secret basement is now Emma's playroom. But sometimes, when I'm down there, I think about how my wife's heart was so big that she risked everything to help families she barely knew. Love isn't always pretty. Sometimes it's messy and complicated and a little bit illegal. Have you ever discovered that someone you love was living a double life? Tell me in the comments.